This is the Vermilion's Ergonomic Keyboard Armored, or simply VE.A. This is a damn beautiful keyboard. Designed by Oddforge, the VE.A is one of the most premium options for a split mechanical keyboard. And you know what? There's nothing else quite like it. This case is done just so beautifully with its tiny beveled edges, use of angles, and a beautifully illuminated midsection. Dat gap. The center of the keyboard is just as mesmerizing with those LEDs. The black aluminum plates are secured with mounting screws along the top and bottom of each plate. Mounted on the plates are some Gatistotles with stock gateron green springs. On top, I use any of my GMK sets, and at the moment, GMK Hyperfuse. The PCB is reprogrammable with WinKeyless's bootmapper client, which is either a hit or miss with many people. For people who can't really code or program like me, it's a godsend. But for people who absolutely require QMK for all their fancy things like tap dancing, macros, and other stuff, this is an automatic deal breaker. The lights on this keyboard are exquisite. Like the modern face of Helen, a new group buy for this keyboard would draw 1,000 buys with its beauty. In the original group buy, there was an acrylic tenting stand and wrist rest for sale. I wish I had them. The Achilles heel of this keyboard is a rather obvious and painful one. Connecting both halves of the keyboard is an interesting choice. Oddforge decided both halves should connect with a SATA cable. I honestly don't understand why they went with this choice. Normal SATA cables are only rated for 50 or so matings, so I don't really plan on disconnecting the SATA cable whenever I can avoid it. 4 rubber feet on the bottom of each side do all the work needed to keep the keyboard in place while typing. Extra points go to polish for including these little fancy inserts for the keyboard as well. The logo in front can be flipped back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. If you've never used a split ergonomic keyboard before, it's an exploration for you ergonomically as well as whether you type correctly. When I had some friends come over for fried food, some of them found out they couldn't type on the VE.A because they used their right index finger to hit the B key instead of their left index finger. I didn't struggle with that typing issue, but my typing incorrectly friends continue to be enamored by this keyboard. Despite their difficulties in typing B and which finger to use for 6, I asked them why they didn't find one of my other keyboards to use. That wasn't as much of a hassle, and they responded, because there's nothing else quite like this. With that heavy click, my friends typed away in glee, and with every crisp and sharp click, their smiles seemed to widen bit by bit. I noticed similar symptoms overcoming me with prolonged use of this keyboard. The continued happiness from using this keyboard means something, because the VE.A isn't perfect. It's far from it. If you're on the quicker side of typing, over 100 words per minute, you'll occasionally notice the VE.A lagging at your key presses if you're switching quickly between characters on both sides or using one side's modifiers to affect a key on the other side. This lag is so annoying and mostly tolerable, but it is very noticeable once you start getting the speed. It's an annoyance that will grow as you continue to improve this keyboard. In my opinion, this layout does work well when split. It's a 75% layout with 2 columns of macro keys on the left and a split spacebar. My layout in particular also has a stepped capslock and a split backspace. While I don't type my absolute fastest on this keyboard, it's still a joy to type on, and the expansive layout is partially to thank for that. Funny enough is that with these macro keys, this keyboard has almost the same amount of keys as a full-sized keyboard. This layout has the space to put anything you need anywhere. But unfortunately, this software doesn't allow everything some people need, so for some, it'll be a lot of wasted space. Typing on this keyboard has been an absolute joy, despite losing out on mouse space. Spreading my shoulders and arms does have its benefits after prolonged typing sessions. Now let's talk Gatistotles. Created by replacing a gateron switch stem with an Aristotle switch stem, Gatistotles create the most satisfying click compared to any clicky MX switch I've tried. The crisp tactility of the switch comes at a price. Gatistotles are not the most consistent switch. They're not even close. Taking samples of different Gatistotles on my board, I can easily tell the differences between quite a few switches due to the lack of tight tolerances with the stems. But despite these inconsistencies, the tactile bump is always sharp, crisp, and tactile. There are so many great points to comment about on this keyboard, but the devil is in the details. The SATA cable, lag, the Gatistotle inconsistency, all the noteworthy devils standing proud. It is this triumvirate of terror that blocks this keyboard from being higher on my preferred to keyboards lists. But probably the biggest devil that will stare anyone in the face is the price, and I'll say it now. A big part of what you're paying for is the fact that this keyboard is exclusive. Whether or not it's worth it, that's up to you. In reviewing this keyboard, I have taken quite the odyssey, and the path home seemed so perilous. In the land of the Lotus Eaters, the Gatistotles were so intoxicating that they were perhaps the best MX clicky switch I've tried. To overcome the Cyclops, I blinded it with a SATA cable. Cersei turned my crew of senses upside down with their ergonomics. The sirens with their enchanting lullaby of ever so crispy clicks kept me listening to the overpowering melody as I typed on, and I was imprisoned on Calypso's island. While I was there, I did have my way to the VE.A, but I never truly opened my heart to the nymph, and after some reviewing, I was released from the island and sailed home on a ship of promises. Upon returning home, I proved to my Topra lover that I am greater than all of her suitors, and I returned to type on my HHKB, the end. So at the end of this story, I don't end up with the VE.A for the following reasons. The latency is noticeably annoying for me. Gatistotles, while nice, aren't the most consistent switches, and SATA cable? Come on, guys, come on. But on the other hand, this VE.A is an odyssey worth remembering and worth retelling. Why? A superb build quality that looks nice and sleek. A beautiful light show. It's a premium split custom keyboard. Gatistotles are amazing clicky switches. And GMK keycaps make most things better. Thank you for watching.